Hi, everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode of Samantha's History Spotlight, the podcast where we talk all about the past and its influences. In this episode, titled Alexander Humboldt, the iconic but forgotten scientist, we'll be discussing the documentary that was given to us and how it connects to themes from our past readings. Drawing from Born in Blood and Fire, Latin American Culture Since Independence, and the documentary itself, we're going to explore how Humboldt's work reshaped scientific thought and also transformed the global perception of Latin America. The documentary is filled with details of Humboldt's journey through South America, highlighting nature as an interconnected system where animals, plants, climate, people, and everything in between all influence one another. Together, these sources give us a vivid and accurate understanding of Humboldt's lasting impact despite the gradual fading of his name over time. The Gaze of Outsiders section of the book Born in Blood and Fire explains that Humboldt was one of the first European travelers to go to South America, not for colonization or conquest, but out of genuine curiosity. It mentions how his books about his travels were extremely popular in the 1800s and helped shape attitudes toward Latin America and the English-speaking world. The documentary supports this idea, showing how inspired he was by the diversity of Latin America and how physically and emotionally different it felt from Europe. One example highlighted in the documentary is the white shadow bird, which no European had documented before his trip to Venezuela. The film does a great job showing how helpful indigenous communities were to Humboldt. Because they were already familiar with the species, they guided him to the caves where the birds lived and helped him study their nocturnal lifestyles. It also showed how the birds were incorporated into their daily lives, as their rich fat bodies were used as cooking oil. This really emphasizes how much Humboldt relied on indigenous knowledge on his research. Another strong connection between the readings and the documentary is Humboldt's support for liberalism and Enlightenment ideas. Chapter 2 of Latin American Culture Since Independence explains that Humboldt argued that all races were equal and capable of freedom. The documentary reinforces this by showing his clear disgust at the slave practices he witnessed in South America, an example being the inspections of Africans before auctions, where they were forcefully examined by their teeth and covered in oil. These liberal ideas also support his close relationship with Thomas Jefferson, as he admired the United States deeply for being the first true free republic. Thirdly, both the reading and the documentary showcase the importance of plants in Humboldt's observations. Chapter 2 of Latin American Culture Since Independence states that Humboldt thought individuals could connect to nature in 3 ways: through poetry, landscape painting, and growing exotic plants. After all, he thought truly understanding nature meant more than just observing it. There also had to be an emotional aspect played into it as well. The documentary dives deeper into the explanation for exotic plants, showing that they truly were the reason his phenomena began. After his climb of the Andes Mountains, he saw a clear vertical progression of vegetation and climate. With this, he set down the basic principles of plant geography. The plants began to look different as it got colder. Therefore, boom, there were changing zones of vegetation. With this, we see how Humboldt truly provided a pathway for many great people like Frederick Edwin Church with his paintings, and Charles Darwin, who is still widely recognized today. While both the reading and the documentary mention how Darwin kind of took the spotlight away from Humboldt, the documentary is a little bit more aggressive, stating that Darwin took the peace perspective of Humboldt's view out, highlighting competition and a constant fight for survival with his idea of evolution. I do, however, like that the reading mentions that Humboldt once stated that new findings sometimes replace old ideas as they become outdated. This is exactly what happened with his situation, and for that reason, if Darwin and Humboldt were to have ever met, I think Humboldt would have had just as much admiration for Darwin as Darwin had for him. Overall, I think that the documentary and the readings complement each other very well and create a full and balanced story. Humboldt is someone that I had never heard of before this class, and after learning about how much he influenced modern science and how he wasn't afraid to share his liberal beliefs in such a conservative time, I truly hope that he receives more of the recognition he deserves.